Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hey, wildly ambitious leaders. How are you? We are so excited to be here and bring you those weekly ideas to become unleashed and unstoppable. And today we have a very special guest, Kelly Cole Smith. Welcome, Kelly. We're so excited you're here. Kelly is a very dear friend of ours and of mine in particular. We went through a leadership program together, and she is a certified parenting coach. She also has strong information knowledge in human design. And you have a business, Chiron Key. I love the name. I'd love to hear about the name. Kelly, I'm so glad you're here. Will you tell us all about yourself?
I am so thrilled to be here with both of you, lovely ladies, and just honored that you invited me to be on the show today. So thank you. Yes, that was a great introduction. And I love that all of us are multifaceted and multi-passionate. And so it's really awesome when you have your own business, how you can make it yours and you can make it unique and you can draw in all the passions and see how they overlap and can combine. And so when I started parenting coaching right around the time when I got certified as a parenting coach, I came across human design, not for the first time. I came across it for the third time. And that's important because this happens to us in life, where oftentimes the universe is bringing us messages to pay attention to. And I got this ping twice before to look at human design, and I was curious about it. But when I looked at my body graph, which is the visual image of your human design, and I'll explain what that is in a minute, but I just was so overwhelmed. I was so confused by it. I had no one to explain it. It wasn't really as well known as it's getting to be. And so I just kind of forgot about it. And then I came across it again when a friend brought it to me for the third time. And I was like, okay, it's time. I've got to dive into this. And now I've got a friend who's curious about it too. And so it was something that we could do together. And so, so that was back in October. So, it's been it'll be almost nearly a year that I've been focusing on human design. And what occurred to me is, as I was looking at human design and as I was studying about it, I was thinking how beautiful it would be to integrate parenting tools and understanding each other in relationship through our human design. And just because we're built so uniquely, because we're built with different energy types and different ways of making decisions, how important it would be for parents to understand not only who their kids are, but who they are as well, and how they can respond better to their kids. So I really love that they can integrate really well together. Human design is a great tool for building relationships.
Yeah. Well, having both of you here with me, one pregnant, one a parenting coach. Kelly, tell us a little bit about your parenting coaching.
Yeah, well, it's kind of ironic that I am just now becoming a parenting coach because my children are 20 and 14. So there's a lot of things that I know now that I did not know as I was raising them. And so I am a little bit envious of people like yourself, Alex, who, come across all the information that we have now as parents that's available to us for positive parenting, for connected parenting, for conscious parenting. They're all kind of one and the same, right? And so I really think it's such a blessing when you have the ability to have this information, and not just the information, but to be able to integrate into your parenting, all of your leadership. It applies, just like it does in business. It applies to, because everything's relationships, right? Everything. And what more important relationship do we have, maybe besides our partner, than our children? And so yeah, it's really beautiful to come across it, but it took me a while to get there. And so now I just am really excited to be able to support parents who are frustrated or feeling that sense of guilt that we often do when we make a mistake or we lose it on our kids or whatever, and be able to take that and turn them into parents who can feel calm and confident in their skills, and to really, really know how to connect with their kids. Especially when our kids are not the same as us. When they have their unique skills and talents, and also, things that really aggravate us because they're not like us, it's really important to understand how to connect with them in a powerful way.
Well, I think that's where that human design piece comes in, right? That knowledge that brings for you as an individual, and then to be able to connect with your children on that level. Like there's multiple different areas of knowing yourself and knowing others. And I know I was first introduced to human design looking at productivity. Like when you understand your human design, it can really impact your productivity and where you spend all your energy, which my mind was blown away from that. But then looking at it in terms of relationship, right, and partnership, and when you're leading others, it's the information's powerful, right? And it can really impact those relationships on a really great, powerful level. And so when we think of human design, because of course, for me, automatically, I was thinking more like leadership and productivity. What becomes possible, like for parents when they are aware of their own human design, and when they have the awareness of their children's human design?
Yeah, I think I love that, because I love that you're bringing up how it can be used in so many different ways. And that's why it's just such a gift when you discover your human design and you have an understanding of it. It's such a gift. So no matter what lens you're looking through, whether it's business or relationships, or parenting or productivity, even finances, you can look at it through that lens too. So it's pretty cool. So it's really multifaceted. But in terms of parenting, I love looking at, well, first, if you're new to human design, essentially it's a blueprint of who you are coming into this world at your time of birth. Basically, the energy of the universe has an imprint and a kind of an energetic field that imprints on us when we're born at that specific time. So in order to even know your human design, to get your body graph, you do need to know your birthday, your birth time, and your birthplace. And when you put that into the generator, and I'll give you guys some free resources that people can look up. You can put them in the show notes, but it's really powerful to look firstly at your strategy and authority. And your strategy is essentially the way that you can best make decisions using your intuition. And your authority is basically the way that you use your energy. So I think that's what you're referring to, Alex, when you're talking about productivity. And so those are the first things that we look at when we're introducing ourselves to human design, or I'm introducing human design to someone else, are those two pieces. They're very powerful to start with, and they can be applied to anything.
Wow. So you said, tell me again, you said strategy and authority.
Yeah. So strategy meaning just the way that we make decisions using our intuition. So we often, and I know this is, you guys are neuroscience experts. And so you talk a lot about the mind and how it relates to our lives and how we can use the mind as a powerful tool. And human design, though the mind is part of it, it's also really about tapping into the body and the body's intuition. And everybody has a different way that they're designed to do that according to when they were born. So, for example, I looked up Alex's and Carol's charts before we got on the call today, and Alex is a manifesting generator with sacral authority. So human design uses the chakra system. It's a blend of multiple modalities, but the chakra system is part of that. And so when we talk about sacral authority, we're talking about that creative life force energy that's in that part of our body, the sacral energy. And so Alex is designed to be a go-getter. I mean, no shock to any of you who've listened to this podcast. Anybody that knows Alex knows she's a go-getter, and she can go when she's got when she's lit up about something, right? Yeah. So that's your authority. It's like to follow the energy of what is lighting you up, what is exciting you, what is like in your body's like a hell yes, like I'm on it,
Yeah.
And so to be able to use that, to be able to also make decisions, you can be like, this is my body is saying yes, like a full on, and it doesn't even come in language. It comes in a uh-huh or a or just kind of a real energetic
or a feeling. Is it a feeling?
It really comes from the gut. That's where as you practice it, it really comes from the gut, and it's an instant feeling. It's like a hell yeah or a hell no, or it could also be like, I really want that. Like I not want it, but it's like, yes, I want this, but it's not the time. I don't really have the capacity. So and that's where it gets a little tricky, because your mind can get in the way really quick. So it's like, what's your instant gut reaction? And that's how you're designed. And the majority of the population, about 75%, are manifesting generators and generators. So that's why our world exists in this go, go, go. You talk about burnout a lot, because there are people in the world like Carol who are projectors. And as a projector, she is designed to have short bursts of energy and long periods of rest. That is, and it was so great when I first explained that to her, and she's like, oh, it's like a relief almost, because you're trying to exist in a generator world where everybody is 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or all to midnight or whatever, and they can just go, and you're trying to keep up, and you're like, why can't I keep up? And when you learn that that's not how you're built, you can kind of relax. And when you learn that there are strengths in that others need as well, then it gives you just permission to be yourself instead of trying to be somebody else. And that's what we're all doing, right? Is authenticity, trying to be more authentically ourselves.
And what you're really speaking into my introduction to human design. I'd heard of it, but what I had heard sounded very confusing to me. Everything I'd heard, and I was like, this is not simple. It's not something that I want really in my life. But when you introduced it to me, it was a whole different thing. It was a lot of validation and confirmation of who I am and the way that I operate. And it left me feeling good. Like I resonated immediately with the things that you were telling me, the way a projector operates. I was like, oh, no wonder I love teaching you about the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule, because it's a way that nature operates. And the goal of taking 20% of our activities or less and producing 80% or more of our results, lit me on fire. That's where I got passionate. So I really love that aspect, that confirmation aspect. And it's interesting, the percentages. It's interesting what you said. I hadn't thought about the viewpoint of the world being a hustle culture world. And here it's primarily manifesting generators and generators. What are the differences between manifesting generators and generators? Because if I remember correctly, you're a generator, right, Kelly?
I am. I'm a generator as well, with sacral authority. So Alex and I are similar in that way. She has the manifesting generator in her, which means, so there's basically 5 types. So there's manifestors, there's manifesting generators, which is a blend of a manifestor and a generator, generators, projectors like you, Carol, and reflectors are like 1% of the population. So the generators, like I said before, are the bulk, the majority.
Yeah.
But when you understand that not everybody is designed to operate that way, it just is really helpful. And I love that you mentioned with the 80-20 Pareto principle, because that's perfectly exactly what a projector is, somebody who can get way more done with way less time. Very efficient. Projectors are very efficient. But the difference between a manifesting generator and a generator is that manifesting generators are designed to initiate things, to start things, to have ideas and to get them off the ground. And then they have energy to do that, but then you want to pass it on. You want to ideally pass it on to a generator who can carry it across the finish line, right? So I like to think of generators as being like, they have like the engine in the car, they're the motor, right? And manifestors are the ignition, and manifesting generators kind of have a blend of both, right? So getting things off the finish line or off the start line, and then kind of passing the baton, so to speak, to a generator who can carry it forward and carry it through. And the projector, the beauty of the projector is kind of the ability to see the big picture from a 30,000 foot view and see how it can be more efficient. How can the car be more efficient? Yeah. So it's really about, projectors are great leaders because you have the ability to see all of the parts and pieces and to see how to make it better and see those systems and processes in a way that can be improved. So all of the different types of human design are really work well together. And it's so fun to see like who your friends are and who your family are, because you can really support and complement each other in so many ways.
Yeah. Does that totally resonate, Alex Leanne?
Oh yeah. Yeah. As soon as, I had looked at my results maybe about 2 years ago, and then Kelly sent it over, and then I just was like, yeah, super accurate. And then just going deeper and really looking at, why I do what I do today, right? Why we do what we do with this podcast, and just bringing, even just looking at, because I got access, Kelly also shared with me yours, Carol. And so when I just think of like partnerships, right? Relationships, to just understand the people that you spend a lot of time with and what that looks like, looking at your teams, looking at those that are around you. Like when we think about results that we're creating and impact, like just how much more powerful it becomes, because you can be so much more efficient with your time when you can designate and assign, let's say, tasks accordingly to everyone's strengths and just what you can create. And I just thought that was, if we can start with this information sooner, like even in a family, right? Yeah. Like I'm thinking planning family vacations or something, right? And leading into that, or just planning out, your weekend or your time together, or, just really leaning into everybody's strengths. I think that's what's so beautiful here is you get to really lean into people's strengths and your own strengths, so that you don't end up depleting yourself, that you don't end up running yourself ragged, right? So for Carol, for example, now it's on paper that she's got permission to let herself rest. And for someone like myself, understanding that go, drive is a natural thing. And we also get to take time to rest too. But because it's not a natural thing, it is something that we get to be more mindful of and more conscious of, which goes back to the neuroscience and our programming on an energy level and also on a brain level. I see the possibility, right? If more of this knowledge were in more leaders' hands and families' hands and parents' hands, just how the dynamics around the environment could shift dramatically.
You know what, Alex Leanne, something that occurred to me, and Kelly, I would love to hear both of your input in operating styles, like not our personality, but from a leadership perspective and even a neuroscience perspective, we default to, certain operating styles, whether we're more controlling or promoting or analytical or, supporting. And so I would love, it's kind of interesting when you look at the operating styles through the human design lens as well. Any thoughts?
I've thought about that a little bit because we've had discussions about this, and I don't know if there's a direct way to connect the dots with that, but I would say that as you dive deeper into your chart, there are nuances there that could be reasons why you're showing up as a more analytical person or why you're showing up as a more supportive person. On the body graphs, you'll notice that there's 9 kind of shapes in the body graph. Yeah. And those they're kind of in line with the chakra system. So they're named similarly to the chakra systems, and they're kind of in those same parts of the body. But those are areas where we're either defined or not defined. And if your shape is colored in, that means you have consistent energy and drive in that particular center, in that particular energy center. And when those are not defined, they're white or, they're not colored in. And that means that you're more affected by other people's energy. You can absorb the energy of others. You can absorb their definition, and you're potentially more affected by it. Right. So you might have more wave-like energy experiences in those centers. For example, I think all of us in our solar plexus are undefined, which means that our emotions can be highly affected by others. We don't have consistent emotional energy. And so it's like a lot of times we can be affected by the emotions of others. If somebody's really, really high and energetic and enthusiastic, we can absorb that and start to feel that within us. Or if, somebody's having a rough day, and we can take that on. And as coaches, that's something that we want to be careful of, is kind of protecting that energy center. So my point being is that, yes, we're all different and we have those nuances within us. And so, someone like Alex Leanne, you're a promoter controller, right? Is that kind of your
controlling promoter?
Controlling promoter. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I look at your chart and I see how many defined centers you have, that makes sense to me, because you're just consistent in your energy for a lot of areas of your chart. And so it makes sense to me that you just kind of show up how you are, and you're not easily affected by what's going on around you in most parts of your life. So it's just kind of interesting to look at that and to see how that might contribute to some of these operating styles.
Just looking, because I do have mine open, the different colors, do they signify or mean anything, or they just happen to be just the colors that kind of go?
The colors, I don't think the colors mean anything. I think they're just because when you look on different websites, and you can do this, there's multiple different ones. They'll use different colors. Some of them don't use colors at all. They just use like a gray. So that's not significant.
But the fact that it's colored or white, that is
right.
Significant.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, it's super interesting. And Alex, I know you've spent some time in study of the operating styles. So, it would be really interesting. Maybe we can talk about it even on another episode about the interplay there.
Well, I think even when Kelly, you're talking about the manifesting generator, right? The thought of like, great, lots of ideas, getting stuff started, but passing it off. It was like, that is more that promoter type, right? Lots of ideas in terms of the execution. Now looking at someone like an analyzer that can break it down and really get that, or the controller piece too, to take that to finish. So it was interesting just hearing you explain, Kelly, the different human design aspects. I was kind of sort of connecting with, okay, that sounds a little bit more analytical, and that sounds a little bit more of the commander and the driver, and the one that's more of the connector. And so just kind of going through it, you see the overlap. And I think that's what the beauty of anything, like whether you're doing the disc or the human design or I know there's a few
like
different out there.
StrengthsFinder, yeah, Myers-Briggs, all of that.
Like,
Yeah.
the power behind that is just having that knowledge and understanding those that are around you and really leaning into the individual strengths and working together on that. So I can embrace those strengths. Notice that too, even just working with my husband has a more analytical brain. And so just, it's a gift. Like, I just find it such a gift when we understand those around us. And I just can, I've noticed that a little bit with Abigail, her tendencies. So I have my suspicions of what, her sort of operating system is, but to me, it's a gift, because then you really can use that information to have more solid relationships, and have more solid communication, really understand where the other person is coming from. Because I think that's what happens a lot of times, speaking leadership and even in relationships, is you can kind of get in a trap of seeing things sort of one way, but understanding that there are people multifaceted and come from different energy and experiences, and like their gifts, can embrace that a little bit more, be a little, like, create that grace a little bit, and be open and curious to understand it from their perspective. And I know that's what my husband and I often will joke around, and we'll say, "Oh, stop being such a promoter, stop being such an analyzer." And we make life light out of it, because we can acknowledge that the reason why someone's showing up in a certain way is because of their strength, like they're automatic, like just what their gift is, and then being able to embrace and be open to someone else's perspective and someone else's lens of how they see things. And I just think the overall relationship, like what that gets to look like looking at having these really understanding, open, connected relationships, by having this knowledge, really contributes to that.
Yeah.
It's such like you said, it's such a gift to have this knowledge. And I think, I've always been a fan of the different personality tests, and when I was working for the company that I was before I started my business, we did a lot of those things. And as a manager, as a team leader, it was so beneficial to really understand the strengths of my team. And I didn't know human design at that point, but I definitely would have used it, because like we said earlier, not only does it help us in relationship, it helps us understand where our gifts and our strengths lie, as well as where some of our, not weaknesses, that's not the right word. What would be the right word? Like, it helps us understand where there are areas that we can work on, or areas that we can be supported with our team, where we can pass things off, because that's super important to recognize that, that's not my jam. And but it is, the guy that's in the office next to me, that's his jam. So I'm going to pass that off to him, because he can do that. And that's not my strength. So it gives you permission to just own it, own your strengths, own your areas of challenge. And then you're not beating yourself up because you're not capable, or you're not able to, or you just don't want to even, right?
You're not filled with joy about certain things.
Yeah. And that's what human design is all about. It's literally about living your best life through what makes you feel good. Like really in your body, what makes you feel good, not what you think you should do, not what mom said, dad said, what boss said, what society says or culture says that you should do. It's literally about using your body's intuition. And again, that goes back to, our authority, but it's about using your body's intuition to see really what gets you going, and for everybody, that's a little bit different. For each different style, that's a little bit different. And so learning it and understanding it, and then starting to integrate it, you just notice that you start to kind of clean out your life. You start to clean out the things that no longer feel good to you. And that makes room for the things that do.
Wow, that's so powerful. I love that. I love to bringing in the curiosity piece, because we talk to you here quite a lot about releasing judgment and bringing in the curiosity, and it starts with releasing judgment of ourselves. So all of these pieces of a puzzle help us to reveal ourselves. And for me, I can instantly, maybe it's a projector gift, right? Can see the ways that these things integrate. Coming through the body makes a lot of sense. And then, looking at our belief system and looking at the way the brain operates as a headquarters to create our reality, because everything starts with a thought. We wouldn't be here right now without that, being able to integrate the two. And I think that is the really powerful message in what we want to bring to you, because we are integrated beings, right? We often quote, a rising tide raises all boats, right? It raises everything. And when you go to work in any one area of your life, all areas are going to integrate. And even just the aspect of neuroscience, one of the things we've been bringing to you is that it's not just about thinking. Our limiting beliefs are thought plus emotion. Just happens to be that a thought fires first and leads to that emotion. So that's why we want to go back to the thought. However, it's our cellular plasticity. It's our neuroplasticity. It's mind, body, soul. It's heart, brain, gut, brain, communicating on a regular basis all day long with this brain, right? And so looking at things from a holistic and integrated picture is, to me, what's exciting. It's definitely a projector point of view, perhaps, but that's the thing that I think we can lean into. We can lean into celebrating who we are, where we're at on our journeys, and the power of the work that we're doing when we take a look at these things in depth. What are your thoughts on that, Kelly?
Oh, I could listen to you all day talk about that stuff, Carol. I love how you connected the dots, because it is the full picture. It is the full spectrum. And I think that's why I'm so attracted to human design, because it integrates multiple modalities. It takes into consideration the chakra system, the I Ching, the Chinese I Ching, which is ancient wisdom. The 64 gates are aligned right with the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. It's so beautiful. Wow. Astrology, of course. And there's even a little bit of biology and genetics in there. So you can get really into it. Quantum physics, I know you talk about that too. So it's really an integrated system. And you can go into, I like to think of human design as it's like a breadth of knowledge and a breadth of wisdom. And you can take a piece of it and have a good understanding of yourself, or you can really get into the details and the nuances. And that's where it's called the science of differentiation, because there's so many little facets to it that the more detailed you get, the more you realize how unique we all are. Nobody has the same body graph, right? So we do have some of these categories, but as you get into the more details of them, the combination of those categories gets smaller and smaller. And that's where you end up with your unique human design.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
So because it goes back to, we speak often in terms of identity, right? Especially as women leaders, right? And making oftentimes decisions on how we perceive ourselves or how we perceive other people perceive us, by having this roadmap of really your uniqueness, of your unique human design. It can just changes things for yourself, right? And just like going back to Carol, giving yourself permission to have that time to rest and being okay with that, because versus trying to show up as someone who you're not. This really is giving you a clear outline of it. This is really who you are at the core.
Yeah.
And then that can impact those decisions and your actions to create the results that you create based on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely like one of the ways that I like to think of it is like, especially what we talked about at the beginning of the conversation, that strategy and authority piece, that piece that we want to start with, like that's like a compass, right? It gets like a directional, right? And then it's also a map. So it also gives you, and I love that you brought up roadmap, because it functions very much like a roadmap, and it is actually a map of our design that we see. It's a visual representation of our design. And then it's also beyond that, like instructions on where we are conditioned, even where we have places in our system that are likely to be conditioned by the world, and those areas where we're solid, And so I think it's really cool because it does serve as kind of that high level view, that Carol's so good at, that 30,000 foot view, that compass. And then it gets detailed like a funnel as we go into the roadmap and we go into the instructions on how to integrate.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, I'm so intrigued, and, vulnerably again, it was so interesting to me to find out that my type, I is it the strategy, Kelly? You'll have to remind me. But where I do best when people come to me, and
Yes.
I love, I have a very supportive side, a very warm heart that loves serving, loves bringing you information that's going to empower you and transform your life, as we all do, right? But when you explained that part to me, it made so many things line up. Like, I'm stuttering because I literally can't tell you. I was just like, oh, this makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. It was super interesting, right?
Yeah. So, Carol, your strategy is to be invited, right?
Yeah.
And that is often a turnoff for a lot of people when they first hear that. Like, I got to wait for an invitation to do anything. Like, yeah. Who has time to sit around and wait for invitations? This is,
yeah.
And I think I said, this is not. It's not like an RSVP, this is not that kind of invitation. It's recognizing when people are asking you for what you know and for what you have to offer them and for you to serve them. And so it's how this is a good one for parents, because parents often give unsolicited advice, especially to their teenagers. And this is the perfect thing to learn for any parent, but teenagers don't want our unsolicited advice. And so for projectors, it's important to not give unsolicited advice, right? So as coaches, often we want permission from our clients. We ask for permission, or even if you're talking to a friend and they want some advice, like, do you want my advice, or do you want me to listen to you? Do you want to vent? Getting permission to share what you know is really critical. And having that information or that invitation doesn't have to be a formal invitation. It can be just hey, I'm curious, somebody DMs you on Instagram and they're like, I saw you, or I heard your podcast. It's great. I'd love to know more about you. That's an invitation, right?
Yeah.
Simple as that. And that gives you the opportunity to then live in your strategy to reach out to them and engage in that connection.
It ties in perfectly with ideal clients, right? Mm-hmm. As business leaders, we want our ideal client to be coming to us because you resonate with us. It's like, what is it? Your tribe knows your vibe.
Your vibe. I always say, your vibe attracts your tribe, right?
Tribe, right? Yeah. It's like, because, we're meant to speak to specific people in this world, not necessarily to everybody, but to those who see things and resonate with what we have to say. If you're with somebody who is a mentor and a guide that, is just off, it's not, there's no resonance, and then you're going to be blocked and resisting the information, right? But when you're with somebody that you resonate with, that's when the magic happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Kelly, for the listener that is like, oh my goodness, I really want to learn more about My Human Design and be able to, discover and see, or even learn, like, I'm curious to put in, my husband's information, my daughter's information to discover that for them. I know you mentioned there's a couple different free resources. Where are some places that the listener can go to today to get started with theirs?
Yeah. So my favorite is the My Human Design app, and you can just download it on your phone. That one is like, I think it's the most simple to understand. It uses kind of everyday language. Whereas if you go to some of these other ones, it uses the language of human design, which is beautiful, but it's, it's a language. And so I like the My Human Design app for that reason. It just uses regular everyday, the third grader can understand it kind of thing. And so that one's a great one. It's free. There's paid, you can dive deeper for a paid version. I think it's maybe $5 a month or something. So I love that one. And I like mybodygraph.com to go and look up your chart in more detail. There's, some audios that you can listen to. Again, there's some paid options as well, but those are the two that I use the most. So those ones are really easy to do. And I would just encourage people because you do get tempted to look up everybody and that's fine. You totally can, but we only have like you were saying earlier about, a rising tide raises all boats. We can be the rising tide by understanding ourselves the best. So more than trying to figure everybody else out, if you can understand who you are and where you're coming from and how you operate, that's going to give you the best, transformation, so to speak, because we oftentimes, just we're human and we point the finger and we blame others and, you're this way and you're that way. And that's not what this is for, right? It's not to use against other people. It's definitely to use to connect and to be in relationship and to appreciate and have compassion for people that are different than us. Mm-hmm. And so out of curiosity, I think the best thing to do again is to look up if you're in relationship, with your kids, your spouse, whatever, your friends, knowing their strategy and authority can be really helpful to building that relationship. And that's pretty much all you need, to do that. And then the rest of it, go deep, go as much as you want, just satisfy your curiosity till your heart's desire. And so those are the two tools that I would recommend.
Kelly, just leaning into that, you're studying being able to read charts right now, right? To help people understand themselves better.
Yes. I mean, after discovering this for myself, I just thought this is going to be a game changer for supporting my clients in their lives, whether it's to do with parenting or anything else.
Yeah. So what's the best way to connect with you if we have a listener who would like to dive deeper and work with you on this?
Absolutely. So the best way to find me is on Instagram. I'm at kelly.cole.smith. Super easy. And you guys can put the link in the show notes. And that's the best way to find me. And I've got a link tree there. So with all the links to my resources.
Awesome. I hope a membership link too, because your parenting coaching, I already know your results with the people that you've worked with. And believe me, you definitely want to contact Kelly in regard to this. So
yeah, that's the best way and the most common way for people to get started with me is to join our parenting collective group and, be in a room, a virtual room with a bunch of other parents who are seeking to, just improve their relationships at home and with their kids. And so there's lots of resources there that you can go check out.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was Carol, you stole the words out of my own mouth. I was going to say, Kelly, we really appreciate you being here with us today and just opening up this knowledge around the human design and diving deeper and just even focusing on those two important tasks to really focus on, because it's true. I know when you sent it to me yesterday and I went in and I'm like, what's this? What's this? What's this? And you can easily kind of go down these rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And, just starting off with the basic of what it is and knowing yourself. I really love how you reminded the listener, because it's true, right? We want to go and understand everybody. And it starts with who we are as a leader, right? And our skills and our human design. So thank you for just reiterating that and reminding the audience about that.
Of course. Yeah. Well, believe me, I've been down all the rabbit holes. Well, not all of them. There's many rabbit holes there. But yeah, starting with your energy type, which is that, generator, manifesting generator, projector, those ones, then your strategy and authority. Those three pieces are just really key. And if that's all you ever learn, that's about 80% of it. So talk about Pareto principle right there.
That's awesome. I know you've done some study on the gene keys. And like you said, there's a lot of different areas that you can go into and specialize in. But I'm just so thankful for you being here and bringing this knowledge to us, helping make it clear and simple and helping us to live our best lives. That, that's what lights our hearts on fire, right? That's what gets us to not gets us to, let me rephrase that. That's where we are, I'll repeat that word, are unleashed and unstoppable, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, I hope that I did help clarify some things for anyone who's been confused about human design or wanting to know more. And that is a piece of my human design, is to make complicated things simple. So I hope I did that for everybody today.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you guys. I really enjoyed being here.
I'm so glad Kelly. You're here. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week, and, keep diving in with us to gain all of the tools and processes and ideas and tips and neuro hacks about being and living unleashed and unstoppable. So ciao for now. We'll see you then. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review, and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.